Hey, what's up guys? This video is for those of you who are just getting started with Procreate on the iPad. I'm going to give a quick explanation of the most essential stuff that you need to know in order to use the program so that you can start creating stuff right away without having to watch hours and hours of tutorials. This page is the first thing you're going to see when you open the program, and this is the gallery page. It's where all of your Procreate projects are stored, and it's also where you can create new projects. So in order to go into a project, all you have to do is click on it. And then to go back to that page, all you do is click on Gallery at the top left. And there's a few options up here at the top right. So one of them is Select. So if we click that, it'll allow you to select multiple projects. And then you can stack them if you want to, which means it'll put them into a group. You can preview them, share them. This is how you would export your projects if you want to save them to the cloud as a backup. So if you click on Share, you can export in a variety of formats. You would normally just do a Procreate project if you want to back it up. And you can also duplicate and delete your projects. If you click on Import, it will allow you to bring in projects that you've backed up. And you can also click on Photo, which will allow you to access the photos on your iPad, and it'll start a brand new canvas based on that photo size. To get started with a new canvas, all you're going to do is click on the plus icon at the top right. And you have a bunch of different sizes you can choose from. If you don't know where to start, I would suggest starting with screen size, which means the canvas will be the exact same size and dimensions as your iPad screen. If you want to create a custom size, you're going to hit this little plus here, and now you can manually type in some numbers. Just keep in mind though that the larger your canvas is, the less number of layers you're going to have. So if you're going to be creating a complex painting with a lot of different layers, you'll want to make sure you don't go too high in resolution where you're not going to have enough layers to work with. And over here on the left, you have options for different color profiles, time-lapse settings, and different canvas properties. Let's go ahead and choose screen size for now. Your main tools are going to be up here in the top right. You're going to have your paintbrush, which is the brush icon. You're going to have your smudge tool, which is the finger icon, and the eraser is next to that. By clicking on any of these icons, you can access all the different brushes that Procreate has. There are a bunch of different categories here, so you can go ahead and start painting right away. Now, a couple of handy gestures that you're going to want to know. The first is to undo. All you're going to do is tap on the screen with 2 fingers, and you can keep undoing. And to redo, you're going to tap with 3 fingers. And if you want to just clear the screen completely, all you're going to do is take 3 fingers and move it side to side. On the left-hand side here, you're going to see your brush size at the top. You can drag that up and down. And then beneath that, you're going to see your brush opacity. So if you want less opacity, you can paint like that if you want. If you'd like to choose different colors, all you're going to do is click on the little color swatch at the top right. And now there's a couple different modes you can choose from at the bottom here. Classic, Disc, Harmony, which will choose different color pairs depending on what mode you set it to. You can click at the top left here to switch between the different modes. Right now it's on complementary, so whatever color I pick, it's going to also choose its complementary color. So you can just tap on that to select that color, or tap here to select this color. And there's also value, and then there's different color palettes here. And you can basically create your own color palette by clicking the plus at the top here. It'll create a new one. And then whatever color you have selected, all you're going to do is click inside of there, and you can start creating your own color palettes. One handy tool is the color picker. So all you're going to do is click on this little square on the left here. And now you can drag around and land the color picker over whatever color you want. And now that color will be selected. So this is a great way to choose colors from photos. To the left of the color swatch, you have the layers panel. Right now I was painting everything on one layer, but if I'd like to, I can create a new layer by hitting the plus icon. And now you can go ahead and paint. And everything on that layer is on its own, so I can turn that off if I want to. You can also reorder layers by clicking on one and holding it down, and then you can drag it beneath or above other layers. If you swipe to the left on any layer, you'll have a few options. You can delete a layer, you can duplicate it, or you can lock it. And to select multiple layers at once, all you're going to do is have one selected, and then you can swipe to the right on multiple other layers, and you can either group them or delete them. Masks are very important to know about, and they allow you to basically paint over specific areas without having the paint spill over into others. My favorite type of mask is a clipping mask. So all you're going to do is find your main shape, for example this mountain, and then you're going to create a layer above it and click on it. And then you're going to just make sure clipping mask is enabled. And now whatever you paint on this layer will stay within the bounds of the main shape beneath it. And you can stack as many clipping mask layers as you want on top of one another. And the benefit of this is now you can turn it on and off by itself. With clipping masks, I usually like to use it to add shading to objects using my custom texture brushes. And I have a link for those down in the description below if you want to see them. You can also click on a layer and enable alpha lock, which means you can paint on it and it will only paint within that shape. However, just know that the paint is going to be baked in now and you don't have the flexibility of turning it on and off. In order to move things around after they've been painted, you can click on the transform button, which is the little mouse pointer up here. And there's a few different modes at the bottom. The first is uniform, which means when you scale something, it's going to uniformly scale and keep the same proportions. You can also click and move it around. There's also options for flipping things horizontally or vertically if you wish. If you select freeform mode, now you can scale it non-uniformly. There's also distort and warp mode, which allows you to move around specific control points to warp the image. In order to manually select different parts of the image, you're going to hit this little squiggly line next to the mouse pointer. And there's a few different modes to choose from. This one is freehand, so you can click and drag and select a specific area. And then if you want to go back to transform and move just that area around, you can. Clicking the little wand icon up here will bring up the adjustments menu. Some of the most useful ones are opacity. So if you click on that, you can drag left and right to change the opacity of a layer. There's also Gaussian blur. Dragging left and right will blur that layer. Another important one is hue, saturation, and brightness. So by clicking this, you can do things like change the color of a layer, the saturation, and the brightness. A few quick things that are good to know are, in order to make a straight line, you're going to draw, and at the very end, you're going to hold it down, and it will turn it into a straight line, and then you can move it around and then let go when you're happy with it. If you do that with a circle, it will smooth out the shape into an oval. And again, you can move it around and resize it. If you want to turn that into a perfect circle, you're going to keep that held down and then press one finger down on the canvas. And now lift up. And you can do the same thing with square shapes. It will make all the lines straight. And again, you can press one finger onto the screen and it'll turn it into a perfect square. If you want to fill in a shape, all you're going to do is drag the color swatch directly into the shape and it will fill it in. If you'd like to edit the brushes or create your own, what you're going to do is go into the brushes panel and then click on the brush. I would suggest duplicating any brush first before you start messing around with it. And this will bring you into the brush editor, which is in my opinion the strongest feature in all of Procreate. And here you have a ton of options to mess around with to create your own custom brush. And in the right here, you have a little drawing pad where you can test it out. And the cool thing is it will actually update as you change these attributes. If you click on the wrench icon at the top left, you have a few options here. You can go to Add, Insert Photo, and from there you can choose a photo to bring in. You can also add text if you want. If you go over to Canvas, you can do things like flip the canvas horizontally or vertically. And there's a few things here like Drawing Guide. So if you click on Drawing Guide and then click Edit Drawing Guide, you can do things like create a 2D grid and change the options for that. You can create an isometric grid, a perspective grid, and to do that, you're just going to tap to create a vanishing point, and you can tap again if you want. And you also have symmetry mode, and you can click on options here to choose between different types of symmetry. So if we take symmetry, for example, if you create a new layer, all you're going to want to do is click on it and make sure Drawing Assist is on. And now it will use the symmetry. And if you have Drawing Assist on while you have one of the grids up, your lines will actually snap to the grid, which is great for drawing things like buildings. If we come back to the Actions panel, clicking Share will allow you to do things like export images. So this is how I like to export my images. I'll usually choose JPEG. and it will allow you to save the image to your iPad. And if you click on video, you'll be able to see a time-lapse replay of everything that you've done in the canvas. And there's also preferences for things like changing up gesture controls and everything else. Keep in mind that your Procreate projects are automatically saved. So if you go back to the gallery, everything will be stored in that Procreate project for you. Well, that about does it for the most important things you need to know in Procreate. Feel free to shoot me an email on my website if you guys have any questions, and we'll see you in the next video.